Hey everybody and welcome back to the tutorial. This is a VFX tutorial. VFX shot, as you can see an example here. We can make this same VFX video in just minutes. Splash screen in down C VFX tab you can open or top side of UC+. Click Show VFX tab and Motion Tracking tab. Click to open Motion Tracking tab. And now in this example we don't need these two windows. So I'm just going to minimize this. And then go ahead and load up the movie clip. That you want to use. So this is the movie clip that I'm going to be using, and if you want to use I leave to, there will be a link in the description. Now we can set the start and end frame. Want to use the whole clip, just go over here and set scene frames. And this will just change you timeline of length of your movie clip. I'm going to set start frame 77. And frames I'm just going to make the end plus 77 frames. Now we have this, we can go to use the video and do some VFX. And go click the prefetch white a minutes. Settings, let's make this a little bit change. Want to change the motion model from location to location and scale. Now I am going to use, if you want you any types motion model, go to use. I'm going to change match keyframe to this to previous frame. If you use keyframe, go to use. And I'm also going to enable normalize. And then one last thing I want to do is go over here to the properties panel. And then scroll all the way down to color management. And we just want to change this from filmic back to standard, and again if you want to use filmic, that's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to zoom in and then add tracking markers, hold Ctrl and then click, so that's I'm going to click over on this corner here. Again Ctrl click to add a tracking marker. Go into use for tracker. And we want to track this forward, and if you don't see side tracking forward option, FEP side track properties panel, just scroll down here, open track tab, click button. If you use shortcut key Ctrl T is adjust track this forward, it's entirely up to you. Tracking forward is finds this and jump back to the first frames. Here we're going to change this from the track tab to the solve tab, though we're not actually going to solve anything, so I'll close this up. Needed, what we are going to use is this 2D plane track section here. So since we have these 4 tracking markers selected, we can click this button, it add our 2D plane. And again we can move this around by pressing G. Or scale it down by pressing S. Or if you need to, you can press R. To rotate, it's entirely up to you. But we just want to grab these now and place these in the corners. So go just click grab this. As you can see, I'm kind of leaving a bit of a gap between the actual border and the inside. Now we can We can actually move on to the compositing, so in the compositing section let's go ahead and check use nodes, and we don't need this render layer. So go ahead and select it and delete it, then Shift to go to input, add in movie clip, this up to the composite node, and then down here click this movie clip icon, then select your movie clip, and we have the backdrop enabled and node wrangler add-in enabled. We can Control Shift and then left click on any node and it will just connect to a viewer node. Node wrangler add-in enabled. Go to Edit and Preferences and then the Add-ons tab, typing node and see node wrangler add-in, check it, and so it will become active, and close the preferences. Then we can shift to go to color and add in a mix node. Drop this in here then. And then shift to go down to distort, then plane track deform, drop this in here. Now for this node, which by the way is an wow node, let's go down to this movie clip icon again. Select our movie clip and then here this tracking object when I select this and use the camera. Then for the track we just want to use the plane track that we created. And then now we can just connect this up to the image slot here and it turns black, which don't worry, that's meant to happen, so we just need to click this button here which just enables the alpha, so the only place that should now be black is the area that we created where we could and add a movie clip. So shift to go to input, add an image, and then connect this up and then go ahead and open up your image. So this is the movie clip. Actually I am using an video clip, or if you want to use an image you could turn this into an image, that is entirely up to you. Plug this into the viewer node, so Control Shift and left click on this node just to plug it into the viewer node. Shift to go to color, add in a mix node. I'm going to drop this in here and Control Shift and left click on this node just to see what's. Shift to go down to matte, add in a box mask, and then we want to take this mask and plug it into the factor. So this is our box mask here. We can make this bigger, so we just want to fill this up all the way. And if we take our box mask and duplicate it, so Shift D, and if we take this mask and plug it into here where it says mask, we're going to change this mask type from add to not. So now if we use this as a shadow mask, so now for this one, and we can't actually see anything, so let's go to this mix node and just change this to black. So now we have this black edge which is going to be our shadow, this box mask, and then just increase this. And again, how thick this is will always depend on your scene. Shift to go to filter, add in a blur node, and then drop this in here. So for the filter type I'm going to change this to fast Gaussian, and then just increase this to something like 90. There we go. So now we have this nice little shadow around the edge. There we go, so now we have this nice little shadow around the edge. VFX short is looking like much better. The colors need changing, and in the actual Harry Potter films the sign starts off black. And then the sign just appears, so I kind of want to replicate that, which again is not too difficult. We're just going to add one more node. Then we can shift to go to color and add in a mix node. Drop this in here, then we can shift to go to input, add in a image sequence node. So then just go to open and again add a movie. So now I'm going to connect this image sequence node up to the factor, and then what we need to do is just image sequence node frames to 500. Start frame will be 100. Take this out here and plug this into the bottom, just to switch these around, and then we can change this color to be black, and there we go. So when we play through this, we can see the sign will now appear as well. And now the last thing we can do is play around with the colors. We can see this shot is colorful, and I imagine this to be darker and a less saturated. Shift A, go to color, then let's use a hue saturation value. Drop this on here, so yeah, let's reduce the saturation a bit, and then also let's make this a little bit darker. And then just play around with it so you get something that you're happy with. Then shift to go to color, let's add in a color balance. Drop this in here, so I want the shadows to be kind of a reddish color. I also want to drag this up just a little bit so it's not as dark. That looks pretty good. If you want, play around with the midtones and the highlights, it's entirely up to you. I'm going to shift to go to color balance. Drop this in and play around with the shadows, the midtones, and maybe the highlights, it's entirely up to you. Add a mix node. Take this and plug this into the bottom. Then I'm going to shift to go to converter, select RGB to black and white. Drop this in here on the bottom string, and then let's change this from mix to soft light. Now we can see we have this contrasted image, so let's reduce the factor. VFX short is looking like much better. So one more thing I like to do is add a filter node, so shift to go to filter, then down to filter. Drop this in here, and by default we're using soften, but we want to change this to sharpen. And straight away we can see it overly sharpens the image, so just reduce this a bit, and again just tweak it to get something that looks good, and then I'm going to shift to go to color balance. Drop this in and play around with the shadows, the midtones, and maybe the highlights, it's entirely up to you. The VFX short is looking wow. and then just play around with it so you get something that you're happy with. You want to render this out, so let's go ahead and change the resolution. Make sure it's the same as the video clip that you're using. You can change the frame rate. Set the file output, then change the file format if you want to render this out as an image sequence. You can either use the JPEG, PNG, or any other image format. If you want to render this out as a movie clip, let's change this to MPEG video. And then down here for the encoding we can click MPEG 4. So now we can go ahead and render this out. So you can press Ctrl F12, which is the shortcut. Or if you want, you can go to render and render animation. It's entirely up to you. If you want any kind of tutorial, please leave in the comment. I made videos. Hope you guys are like the video. Please hit the like button. Hope you guys are learned something. Please hit the subscribe button. Have a nice day.